Welcome to another exciting episode of MindShareTV, where we explore the intersection of education, innovation, and leadership in a digital age. I'm your host, Robert Martellacci, founder of MindShare Learning Media, and honored to be joined by a global thought leader in EdTech, Keith Krueger, the CEO of the Consortium for Schools Networking, and his colleague, Cooper Sved, educator and 2025 Blaschke Research Fellow at CoSN. Keith and his team have just released an incredibly timely and important report, Screens in Balance, Education, Technology, and Community Conversations, also known as the 2025 Blaschke Report, authored by Blaschke Fellow, as I mentioned, Cooper Sved. We'll unpack these insights from the report and explore the new Screen Time Toolkit and discussions on how educators and families can better navigate screen use in today's connected learning environment. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen.
Nice to see you, Robert.
Happy to be here.
As always, Keith Krueger, a longtime friend and colleague in our EdTech sector. Keith, let's talk about Charles Blaschke and the origins of this and the importance of the why. Charles
Blaschke was a longtime policy expert based here in Washington for many decades. And when he passed away, there was a memorial fund set up, and we annually pick a topic that's of interest to educators around the use of technology. And front and center, in fact, this is September, so back to school in Canada and the United States. And what we're seeing is a lot of coverage about sort of cell phone bans. And we've noticed over the last year or two, there's a lot of confusion about that they're using the term banning screens from policy perspective. And so the reason we did this report and this initiative is to really help broaden the conversation, because we think it's been very narrowly constructed around just cell phone bans. And in fact, there are lots of screens that we use in education, for that matter, television all the way back to then, but certainly computers, certainly other technology for learning within the school environment. And so we really wanted to, I think the word balance is the key word in terms of this effort. It's called Screens in Balance. And we really want to be able to spark a conversation that's more thoughtful than just simply banning cell phones.
Right. Well said. Cooper, can you tell us about the three major ways you define screen time for students?
Right. So in the report, we say that there are three different manifestations of the term screen time, even though they can be conflated really easily by parents and teachers. So the three main buckets that are relevant to K-12 educators and families are EdTech, which we all know a lot about already, cell phones and social media, and at-home entertainment. So think about a video game console or a computer. Right. And these three manifestations require completely separate conversations, separate guidelines, and but they are all relevant to students and families who are in kind of the K-12 sphere.
Thank you for that. You released a powerful companion to the report, the Screen Time Toolkit, which I think is brilliant. I'm a big fan of playbooks and toolkits to make it practical. Can you walk us through what's inside and how educators or school leaders can begin using it today?
Absolutely. Yeah. We wanted to approach it from many different angles. We thought it was important for educators to better understand their use of technology in the classroom. We wanted to make sure there was a level of coherence at the site level to make things easier for teachers and admin. And we also wanted to be able to communicate all of this information with families in a way that's thoughtful and practical and attentive to their particular concerns, especially in this moment in education policy. So we have several documents that schools and districts can brand however they like and edit based on whatever they need. There are presentations that we offer for elementary and secondary teachers and principals. We have created several send home documents that parents can take home and use to help guide their screen use in their own homes with their children. And we also created several documents that help teachers better understand their EdTech use. So we have like self-reflection documents and we call it an educator cheat sheet with the relevant research to help them navigate conversations with families that are in their classroom every single day.
Thank you so much for that. Fascinating.
Yeah,
Lots to
and
unpack.
Robert,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Robert, I mean, I think Cooper's being modest in terms of the toolkit. There are infographics, there are presentations that are easy and free and downloadable. There
Wow.
are things that are helping a teacher do a kind of an audit on the way they think about technology. There's a school system. So when we say a toolkit, we really mean more than just there is a comprehensive report that's almost 50 pages, but
Wow.
then there are these tools that are very user-friendly for educators to use at the building level.
Fantastic.
Those at the school level to take these and use them however they like. We can, like I said, we offer opportunities for site level branding. We want them to take out pages, add sections that are site specific, just to make sure that these can be used by as many people as possible.
Brilliant. There's a growing need, Keith, to balance tech-enabled learning and with student well-being. We address it here. We have co-ops and interns here in our co-working innovation center, MindShare Workspace. What are some of the key takeaways from the report that school leaders should prioritize going into the 2025-26 school year?
Yeah, and I think the word well-being is important, and no one, including technology advocacy organizations like CoSN, are saying that students should be in front of a screen all the time. They need to have Play-Doh, they need to be out on the playground, they need to read books. There's a variety of skills that they need. But I think in this moment, there's been some, at least in the United States, a somewhat simplistic answer to all problems, and that is banning cell phones. And so students are going to live in a world where they will be using screens, and so they need to develop practices that make sure that they are a well-rounded human being. And where better should that happen than at home? Now, it also has to involve parents and helping that along and things like that. And so we have the purpose of the report and toolkit is to spark a conversation about those things and give some tips on sort of how to do that. So that's how we're thinking about it.
That's brilliant. And the term that comes to my mind, Keith, as you were speaking on this topic, is self-regulation.
Right.
Kids need to know how to balance and make decisions that will benefit them in whether they're, doing schoolwork or choosing to go play. So,
and I think the simplistic bans don't necessarily prepare the student for the child for the future.
Case in point, we have students that come to their co-op work placement here with us, and some of them actually use their phone as their main device to work.
Yep.
And I don't have an issue with it as long as they know that when they're on that device, they're dialed in and working, because I convey to them, the downside of using your device for other means. And, I had one student come in, first day, and that's what they were doing. They were just on their phone. And it's like, ask questions. If you have time available to do something else, you finish the task, then say you're available to do something else. Show initiative. We're trying to help them develop good habits. And then I referred to the term, if you were in business, there's a term I coined, CEM, career ending move. If you're caught on your phone all the time, because it's essentially the same as stealing, because you're burning up dollars in your work time, right? So it startles them a little bit, but that's the reality. We try to paint a picture of the reality, what they're going to face in the real world. So with that, I'm on to my next question for you, Cooper. How can school boards, parent associations, and teacher networks help amplify this resource and ensure it's used in a meaningful way at the local level?
Yeah, well, if you are an educator or an administrator, you can use this stuff tomorrow. In fact, I'm actually using some of our toolkit documents to lead a conversation at my school next week. They're using what we're offering in your community is the most effective way to amplify the resources. And if you have used this our toolkit, if you have read our Blaschke report, and if you find that it was helpful in navigating those conversations with your community, share them with fellow educators, share them with members of your community, and make sure that other people are able to use these in ways that are practical and thoughtful and helpful.
And Robert, I think educators can feel confident because groups like our national PTA, the teachers union, the principal associations, and the superintendents associations have all endorsed this report and toolkit, because I think they too understand that we've had too narrow of a conversation, and we haven't prepared educators to have this conversation with parents in the community.
And not only have they endorsed, they were actively part of the creation process. We had meetings with every single one of these organizations throughout the process of building this toolkit to make sure that these were going to be useful to practitioners in the field.
Brilliant. Before we wrap up, I've got a couple more questions for you. Keith, as AI and immersive technologies evolve rapidly in the age of AI, how do we ensure that screen use remains intentional, as I was alluding to earlier, and human-centered, which coincidentally is the theme of our summit? It's empowering human-centered, sustainable learning in an AI-empowered world.
Well, I think that ought to be the center question for every technology, whether we're thinking about screens or whether we're talking about the use of AI. What is it that makes us uniquely human, and try not to think about these technologies replacing us, but rather augmenting us and making us more better, or the skills that we need in the workforce that in an AI-driven world that make us still valuable and competitive. And so that's a very broad question, but it's at the heart of what we have to be doing in designing our teaching and learning environments.
Thank you for that. So finally, what's your call to action for our viewers? I want to challenge them and listeners, particularly those attending the Canadian EdTech AI Summit this October. We're thrilled to be partnering with you, and you're releasing a report giving an update on the state of EdTech in Canada for the first time, which is kind of cool. But when it comes to screens and balancing and digital wellness, you're at the top of your game. Kudos to you for providing these critical insights in this pivotal moment in history. And Keith, I would love to get your perspective on how you see this moment in time that we're in. It's such a state of flux. Dr. Hinton, Professor Emeritus from U of T, known as the grandfather of AI, serendipity, that's where we're hosting our summit. So it should have some great karma, perhaps. Talks about this being the second industrial revolution. Thoughts?
Well, I think this is a big moment, and AI is driving it, and it is as profound as as electricity or steam or perhaps the internet. And so it is a moment to be both excited but also realistic about the challenges. And I think it's great to have conversations like you have at the EdTech AI Summit that you'll be having up in Toronto. And I think that you asked me what the actions are. So today, go to the CoSN.org and you can find this report on screen time, download the report, but then look also at those actual tools that we talked about and start using them. There's the ability to have a conversation at your PTA, or there's infographics you can send to parents. There are checklists for teachers. So there are real actions today that you can do. And finally, look forward to a preview of what's happening in Canada at your summit. We're very proud to be doing the first Canadian survey of the state of EdTech, like we've been doing in the United States for a decade.
Brilliant. Well, we're so excited to partner with you and grateful for that. Keith Cooper, thank you for your leadership and for sharing these incredible, timely, and practical resources to our viewers. Be sure to download the Blaschke report and the free Screen Time Toolkit. Let's continue working together to foster balanced, healthy, and human-centered technology use in schools across North America and beyond. My name is Robert Martellacci of the MindShare Learning Report. Keep the digital learning steep, and we look forward to seeing you at the Canadian EdTech Summit, October 29th and 30th. Thank you again, gentlemen. Have a great rest of your day.